What is up, guys? Welcome back to the sound check, and today we have something different for you. We're going to be going over our top 5 front people in music. So our top 5 front men, front women, front whatever you like. Blake, how'd you feel about coming up with this list, man?
It's actually way harder than I thought.
Yeah, narrowing it down to 5 people was stressful, dude.
Yeah, it was tough.
We listened to a lot of music, a lot of different genres and all kinds of stuff, so narrowing it down was tough, but I'm happy with my list. How are you feeling about yours?
Feeling pretty good. I got a couple of wild cards in there. I got some the people I don't think are going to actually be expecting. So
Cool.
Yeah.
Teaching some people.
Absolutely. Teaching people metalcore history. Man.
All right, bro. Sweet as. Well, let's start with number 5.
So, my number 5 is a guy named Anthony Green.
I know Anthony Green.
You know Anthony Green?
So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about what bands has he been in?
So Anthony Green's been in a number of like emo kind of indie kind of bands. He's probably most known for like Saosin and Circa Survive. I'm really into his solo music, to be honest. I had like a huge phase with Circa Survive. I just really love that he's like this kind of, he's like a really emotionally hurting artist, can relate to all that as a vocalist and all that sort of stuff. I really like that he sounds like a female. But he's actually a male. I really think that's cool. I love when there's vice versa. I love when like there's a female singer and she sounds like a bloke. I think that's really cool. He's got really good energy. He's like a weapon on stage. Unfortunately, I've only seen him later on in his career in Circa Survive. Although I've heard some amazing stories about him playing at like Soundwave where he's on stage. He's like out of his brain and he's just going absolutely bonkers, crazy.
Super high energy front man.
Super high energy,
even in like, as you know, Circa Survive aren't always like super high energy musically, and I think that that's really cool that he's kind of going crazy even when the music doesn't really call for it. It's like
absolutely,
a cool,
bro.
It's a cool kind of dynamic that they have.
Cool.
And his range, like you mentioned, he can go so incredibly high, but he's not limited to just that range, right? Like he can sing quieter, softer stuff. Lower.
Absolutely. He suits acoustic music, full on energetic stuff. It's really, really good. All right. Well, what about you? Who's your number 5?
So my number 5 is Maynard James Keenan from...
Who's that?
So obviously most notably for Tool, A Perfect Circle, and Puscifer.
I didn't know he was in other groups.
Yeah. So I can't really claim to be too much of a Puscifer fan, but Tool and A Perfect Circle have been bands that I have listened to since I was in high school and kind of always have stuck with me.
Nice.
And I'm going to go slightly different here. So he's not really known too much for his like live energy. Like for instance in Tool, he's set up behind a screen. You can't even see him.
Really?
Yeah. He's like, you can only see his silhouette most of the time. He's behind a screen. So
you can do that? You're allowed to do that?
Yeah, bro. I mean, like people aren't big fans of it, but he does it anyway because that's his personality. But a Perfect Circle, obviously, is a little bit different. He's actually doing the traditional frontman thing out in front of the band, but he's not really going crazy or anything. But just his vocal ability live to me is ridiculous. I am a big fan of his lyrics. He's known for these kind of dark, introspective lyrics, but and also talking about like subject matter that isn't really like common in metal, which I find really cool, which I've tried to adapt a little bit of that with my lyrics and try not to always sing about the normal kind of metal cliches and stuff like that. But he's just such a diverse vocalist and someone that I think like has that such a signature sound. Like as soon as he comes on, you can pick that it's him straight away. And yeah, man, I've just always been a massive fan. So when we were coming up with this list, he just kept popping into my head and I was like,
amazing.
God damn it, go away.
Good stuff.
But I couldn't get rid of him. So yeah, that's my number 5.
Excellent. All right, delicious. Cool. All right, number 4. Who you got, TK?
So I have Hayley Williams from Paramore as my number 4.
Okay.
I think that as far as a front person goes...
Wasn't expecting that from you, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I probably wasn't expecting it from myself until I saw Paramore live, and I was just blown away,
When did you see them?
Probably 2014, 2015, around then. And going in, like, I listened to a fair bit of Paramore, but I wouldn't have said that they were, like, a band that I was a massive fan of. I just happened to be going to this show, and from the minute go, man, she just blew me away. She's a ball of energy. She's got incredible stage presence, a massive command over the crowd, which is super important. And her vocals are just flawless live. Wow. For her to be able to run around the way that she does without losing an ounce of breath or an ounce of power from her voice, it just floored me. And I think she has great tone, great vocal range. She is super varied. Like, again, she can do really loud, high register rocky stuff to more like low energy kind of ballady stuff. And yeah, I just can't fault her, man. And again, when I was coming up with the list, thinking of different people, she was one that I just couldn't leave out of my top 5. So I had to put her in there, and I'm pretty happy with her at number 4.
Cool.
Who's your number 4?
My number 4, I'm really nervous about pronouncing their surname.
Okay.
But their name is Candace.
Yep.
Okay. And they sing for a band called Walls of Jericho.
Awesome.
They're a legacy metalcore band. And she is an absolute machine of a front woman. Apart from the fact that she looks like a machine, she's also just got this like gnarly, vicious scream to her.
Yeah.
And when you watch live videos, you can just see like she is just built for this kind of genre of music.
Yeah.
Just super, super strong energy live. I know we're going to say that a million times, but it's the truth. She's got a lot of strong energy.
That's why they're on the list.
Yeah, super commanding, and just like a force to be reckoned with, I reckon.
Yeah.
I would be terrified if I was in the front row and she's just screaming at me, just like, move that.
Bicep curl your entire body.
Literally, she's a mum, okay? And any mum is an absolute machine in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to mums everywhere. She also deadlifts and like lifts weights, like insane amounts of weight. It's
She's
just
a pioneer
really impressive
too, right? Like one of the early kind of
Absolutely.
front women in metal and hardcore that I feel like she, back when there was kind of a stigma around female front people, and I don't think that she ever really received that. Like, I never saw her popping shit live or in videos or anything, because she's just like, you're not going to talk bad about her of all people. So
it's like Chris Mott. No one's ever going to talk smack on Chris Mott.
I'll talk smack on Chris Mott.
Chris Mott's our friend, by the way. So she's number 4 because she's just super, super, super scary, and it fits the vibe of the music. And she just absolutely crushes that stigma of female. It's definitely slept on though. Like her is in that role
for sure. Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. I don't think Walls of Jericho ever really got the credit that they were kind of due.
No, their 2016 album, I can't remember the name of it, but oh my God. That's when I got into them, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't really get them when I was younger. Okay. I discovered them in that 2016 album, and I just went back and I was like, this is sick.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, that's number 4 for me.
Cool. All right, now we're down to the spiky end of the competition, my man. Number 3. Who's your number 3?
Number 3 for me is a guy named Ollie Sykes, also known as Oliver Sykes. You may have heard of him.
No. Tell me a bit about him.
Yeah, so he's been in the limelight since he started. He has never once actually dropped off. He's never had a period where people aren't swooning over him, loving the music he's doing. He's always stayed relevant. Mm-hmm. I think that's super impressive.
Yeah.
No, who can do that?
Yeah.
Like, they've had an incredible career bringing Horizon, and he has just been the forefront of that the entire time.
Trendsetter. That's the first thing that comes to my mind.
They're always ahead of the curve. Yeah. I just find as well, I think he's the whole package. He looks after himself, okay? He knows how to tap into his emotion. Obviously, he has some issues with substance abuse and whatnot, but he makes good use of that. And I'll be honest, until he actually opens his mouth on a stage or wherever and he says, oh, I have a substance abuse problem, he never, ever makes it obvious. You wouldn't know. Yeah. I personally don't think that I would know that. I don't see it in his social media presence. I don't see it in his appearance or anything like that. I'm not saying that he needs to hide it, but I'm just saying that it's quite impressive that he doesn't actually seem to let it interfere with his career by any means.
Yeah, I don't remember a period where his voice was particularly bad live, for example. Yeah.
Also, really good music.
Yeah.
Catchy, relatable music. He's constantly pushing the band to try new sounds and try new things. He's super collaborative, and he's a marketing genius. So there's a lot of different things. And then I saw him at Good Things late last year, and they were the headliner, but they were the headliner for a reason. Yeah. He was just an absolute powerhouse of a frontman on that stage. So he's number 3 for me. I'll just say
that one thing that I find really impressive about him is his ability to learn new skills and implement them into the band. Like he learnt to sing while he was already a famous frontman.
Yeah, which is incredible.
It's crazy. Like you would normally learn to sing before you join a band, but he went from deathcore to alternative rock.
This is the spirit.
Didn't really miss a beat. Yeah. Like, obviously he's gotten a lot better with his singing, but his starting point was still good enough.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of confidence and a lot of self-belief to just be like, I'm going to learn to do this and I'm going to put it on our next record and then I'm going to go out and tour it and I'm going to be good at it.
Yep.
Like, crazy.
Yep. Absolutely.
I like that, man. That's a good number 3.
Really good. What about you, dude? What's number 3 for TK?
So number 3 for me is Mike Patton, who's the singer of most notably Faith No More, but many other projects. The second most notable project would be Mr. Bungle.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest, I'm mainly just a fan of his from specifically Faith No More.
And because you're old.
And because I'm really old, yeah. But for me, he is easily the most varied singer I've ever heard.
I actually can't even put a face to the name. Maybe it's my age showing.
Yeah.
I'll have to check him out after this. But please go on.
He does everything from literal like show tunes and opera through to death metal and everything in between. He can rap, he can sing, he
all
can
in Faith No More?
Over the years, they don't have 2 albums that sound the same. They completely evolve the band every album.
That's incredible.
He also, which you'll find interesting, so between the original Dillinger Escape Plan vocalist and Greg Puciato, who was the main vocalist in Dillinger Escape Plan, they had an EP that they were doing and they didn't have a singer. So they hired Mike Patton from Faith No More to sing for it. So there's an EP by the Dillinger Escape Plan where he's the lead vocalist of Dillinger. Wow. And at the time, he was like one of the biggest rock frontmen in the world and did this like noisecore album.
Wow. And that's with Dillinger like, dudes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like that's just a testament to how varied he is. I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe he has the largest ever recorded vocal range. Like in terms of how low he can go and how high he can go. I don't think there's anyone else. There's a video on YouTube, which is great, that shows like if you took a piano, right?
Yeah.
And you touched like every key along a piano.
Gotcha.
He's hit every single note that there is on a piano. Like it is absolutely
and like,
insane.
Does it effortlessly.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
With ease.
And I'm not a big fan of this whole thing of like, I don't use auto-tune on my voice and like using that as like a
claim to fame.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
who cares?
He never has, because he was recording albums before it was ever a thing and has never just wanted to use it since. And you can tell, man, like you watch live performances of him and like if like you'll hear vocalists that are kind of like going in and out of tune on notes and stuff. Like he's just pitch perfect. I think he's like possessed by singing or something, dude. It's absolutely insane.
Just
but
vocal mayhem.
in terms of a technical vocalist, I had to include him because in my opinion, there is no one that matches his proficiency. And he's a hell of a live vocalist too. Like he
goes for it.
Yeah, man. I mean, he'd be in his 50s now and hasn't lost a step in terms of like putting on a great show.
Amazing.
So that's my number 3, man.
Awesome, dude. All right, TK, we're down to number 2. Things are getting spicy.
I'm sweating, bro.
Yeah, it's hot in here. Yeah. It's hot in here. All right, who you got for number 2?
So my number 2 is the great Chester Bennington, which everybody knows.
Pour one out for the homie.
Yeah, pour one out for our fallen homie. As a kid, like, although you like to joke that I'm way older than you, we are very close in age.
Oh, very close.
For kids our age, man, I think for a lot of us, he was like our introduction to super emotional vocals.
Yeah.
And just his ability to project the emotion that he's feeling onto songs is like, I would say almost second to none. Like you can tell when he's pissed off, you can tell when he's sad, and everything in between, and everything beyond that. And he's an amazing singer. One of the first screamers that I ever got into as well. Like I loved the way that he would use screaming sparingly, and it really gave emphasis on what he was trying to get across.
Yeah.
I remember there being a live DVD called Linkin Park Live in Texas, I think it is. And that was like one of the first things I heard that made me want to be a vocalist in a band, man. Like,
sick.
He was just incredible. And the impact that he had on like an entire generation of people is huge.
Huge, dude.
Your last person was Ollie Sykes. Ollie Sykes wouldn't exist without Bennington. Neither would half of the vocalists, not even just in metal. That's the thing, right? Like anyone who's using that like really gravelly pitching their screams is like
pitch singing.
Yeah. It came from him popularizing that stuff. And the way that he was able to, even towards the end of his career, joined Stone Temple Pilots, which is like a 90s grunge band and sounds nothing like Linkin Park. And I always wondered how he'd sound doing something else. He sounded great. And his ability to back up Mike Shinoda with rapping as well.
So cool.
Such a diverse vocalist again, and a powerhouse live, man. Like the feedback that he would get from the crowd was insane. You could see how much it meant to these people. And I don't want to get too much into it, but that's part of why it was so sad when he left, because it was almost like he didn't realize how loved he was. But anyone who went to a Linkin Park show could just see how much love the crowd was. I think
most like famous people don't realize how loved they are. Exactly. Especially the most tortured souls.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and obviously that contributed to why he was so good as well, is because he was going through these things, and he really brought it out in his music. And I think just a really important vocalist in
monumental
music history, like full stop. And so that's my number 2, man.
Dude, killer number 2.
Who's your number 2?
Unfortunately, my number 2 doesn't come anywhere close to your number 2 in terms of vocal ability. My number 2 is I chose number 2 as a huge part of my inspiration as
it's
like
personal to you.
Yeah, personally to me as a vocalist, specifically in the genre that I play in. So that mine is Dylan Rhichter from the band For the Fallen Dreams.
Yeah.
He's also got a new band, and he's kind of doing his thing. He's doing a bit of recording, but he's not playing live yet, okay?
Yeah. And I'll just interrupt you just to say, don't downplay your pick too much, man, because like you said, in the genre that you play in metalcore in general, For the Fallen Dreams are an important band.
Huge for the genre.
Yeah.
Huge.
I remember their impact even on our scene in Sydney. Yeah. Before them, there wasn't a lot of like melodic sounding metalcore. It was all just like really chuggy, heavy.
Dude, if it wasn't for him in that, if they didn't do that Relentless album, we wouldn't have North Lane for a start.
Yeah, 100%.
I literally remember watching an interview where John was like, I have to owe our career, like my influence, to that album.
Yeah,
which is cool.
So he's like totally get. He's not on the same level of impact on the world as Chester Bennington, but he had a really good impact.
Definitely did. He was definitely perceived to be a bit like, I guess, like narcissistic, I think, at times.
Typical frontman,
right? Yeah, like what frontman hasn't actually had that series? Maybe he did it more than others, whatever. But I'm not looking at him from that perspective. I'm looking from the perspective of like when he got on stage, holy hell, dude, he knew how to move his body.
Yeah.
I think like from a choreography standpoint, like how you hold yourself on stage, like you'd see him like holding the mic, and the way he would move around the stage was incredible. Similar reason why I would choose Mitch Lucker for one of these as well.
Yeah.
Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. But yeah, ultimately love that. His vocal style, I love it. It's anything outrageous to me, but for the most part, I just really loved how he presented himself. And I really took a lot of inspiration for that. And it really allowed me to kind of feel more comfortable in trying to find myself as a vocalist on stage in the genre.
I never really saw them live. What was he like with the crowd? Like, good
incredible
command? Yeah.
Incredible dude.
Yeah.
Like, he was so good at getting the crowd to do exactly what he needed.
Yeah, in the palm of his hand.
Exactly. I think it's mainly because, like, he's holding himself so well on stage, and that makes people just go like, all right, I got to do what this guy says.
Yeah, commanding presence.
Yeah, really cool.
Man. No,
cool.
I think that's a good choice, man. Especially for you. Like, I'd be offended if you didn't have someone like that on your list.
Has to be on here, man.
Yeah.
Has to be on here. Yeah. All right, we're down to number 1.
Oh God. All right.
It's a big deal.
It's a massive deal. So, I think we should, before we get into it, just like, was this obviously the hardest one for you to pick, or did this come to you like straight away?
It was hard. It was either Dylan or this one. I think I chose this one because this guy has a impact, like a greater impact on the scene, whereas Dylan didn't as much as this person.
Yeah, so they were maybe like level for you personally, but the greater impact just in general kind of pushed it over the line.
They definitely had a huge impact, and I think they were the whole package in every aspect. Not an ounce of them was missed. So my number 1 is Mitch Lucker, the late Mitch Lucker. He passed away in 2012.
Pour one out for the fallen homie.
Pour one out for the homie once again. If you know Suicide Silence, if you know Deathcore, you know Mitch. Mitch was an absolute machine live. Okay. 2008, I'm like 16 or 17 or something. I'm going to this Parkway Drive show at the Roundhouse in Sydney, Australia. Okay,
I was there.
And this show in particular was like a turning point for the scene in Sydney.
What was that show called?
It's called Sweatfest.
Sweatfest,
okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Parkway Drive, A Day to Remember, Confession, Acacia Strain, Suicide Silence. Like, the whole scope of metalcore in one building that night, in that period, the biggest of the best. I didn't really know a whole lot about Suicide Silence. I was listening to a few tracks and thought they were cool. Mm-hmm. Man, they killed the stage and it was a bloodbath. Like the pit was just out of control. He was on stage and that was when he was in his prime. He was doing these like pterodactyl stage moves.
That's what I was about to bring up. The way that he contorted his body. The first time I saw that, I was like, what is wrong with this person? Yeah. Like, this guy has something wrong with him because he's moving like only shit you'd ever seen in movies. Like, it looked like he was possessed. It was crazy.
Freak of nature, dude. Yeah. Ear-piercing high screams. Yeah. His lows weren't like super mega low, but they were his lows. They were unique.
Yeah, very unique.
I think you've made this comment to me once in the past, like, who has done lows like him before? Not really anyone.
No.
So super unique. Also, like, he had the image, and I loved that image at the time when I was that young, growing up. But then, like, even just before he died, man, I would watch YouTube videos of them playing festivals, and he just got better and better and better. Yeah. And man, Suicide Silence, they were so big at one point that they had people in Sydney that were like mad pop punk fans. Yeah. Losing their mind over Suicide Silence. Yeah. It made no sense. Yeah. But everyone just flocked to him, and as soon as he passed away, it's almost like all of that went away for the band, and it really sucks for those other band dudes.
It does.
But the reality is that the frontman is oftentimes the band, the face of the band, and it was really tragic when he passed away because he had a daughter and a partner and whatnot, and I don't know the exact story, but I'm pretty sure it was. But ultimately, he's number 1 for me. I'll always consider him a GOAT, and I will always take influence for him as long as I'm doing metal.
Yeah, man.
So what about you?
So my number 1, similarly to you, is personal to me. Like, from a technical vocal perspective, he is by far the worst of any of the people that I have on my list. But he's the singer of my favorite bands and probably the biggest influence on me as a frontman, and just I couldn't not put him as number 1. He's my favorite vocalist of all time, and that is Zach De La Rocca from Rage Against the Machine.
And that's a great choice.
Yeah. Like I said, the worst technical vocalist on the list by far. He can't even sing. Like, he can't produce a note out of his voice, but by far the biggest impact on me as a vocalist and my favorite vocalist to watch. I've never seen Rage Against the Machine. It was an absolute dream of mine.
You're gonna have to when they come.
Yeah, for sure. When they do one of their random, we decide we want to play again tours, I don't care where it is in the world, I'll figure it out and I'll go. But
Sick.
In terms of time spent watching live clips, there's no one that like speaks to me the way that he does.
Sick.
From his lyrics to the sound of his voice to his presence live, it's just unmatched, dude. I get so hyped watching Rage Against the Machine. Dude, when we used to work together, right, in like corporate jobs, when I was like pissed off at work, I would, on my lunch break, would just watch live videos of Rage Against the Machine and daydream about throwing my freaking computer out the window.
Beep you won't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, dude. Yeah, 100%. And his ability to like keep up with the times even after Rage Against the Machine has been crazy. He does a lot of...
What's he been doing?
So he does a lot of features on like hip hop artists' songs and producers for hip hop artists and stuff. And
sick.
A lot of these guys are from the 90s. They have like completely lost touch with where music is, but he sounds as fresh today as he did in 1992 when they started. And yeah, man, like I just
looked after himself by the sounds of it.
Yeah, and I think he's just open-minded. He's not one of those guys that thinks that music peaked in the 90s and that the new shit sucks and that all the new artists are like young kids who don't know anything about music. And
oh, dude.
I think what has kind of put him at the...
That was our cue.
That's all right.
To not stuff up. But we're good. We already hit re-record anyway.
All right.
We'll put a technical difficulties one.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I've lost my train of thought.
He's kept up with the times.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's just really kept up with the times, in my opinion, man. And I think one of the things that sort of makes him my number one is that a lot of these guys have had music constantly coming out, and I've been able to listen to it and love it. The fact that the last Rage Against the Machine album came out 20 odd years ago,
it's crazy,
and he's still my favorite vocalist, just shows how enduring his legacy is to me, because I only have this small sample size of his prime to go off, and it's stuck with me the whole time.